Hey everybody, Anish Majumdar here, career coach and expert in the hidden job market, here to talk about something that I keep seeing all over the news, getting tons of coverage, but not the right kind of coverage. All right, what do I mean? Any American executive or hiring manager who claims to adore 996, right, which I'll explain if you don't know what that is, or other aspects of Chinese working culture or Chinese workers right now, especially in this moment where you have tons of employees being pressured to return to office, tons of churn going on. This is someone that you need to stay away from. This is someone or a company that will most likely grind you down to the bone, worse than the worst first hire over at Amazon did, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about this. I want to talk about why this has been on my mind and why it sort of needs to be on your mind as well. And finally, we'll discuss a couple of things that you can do to protect yourself in the midst of this. By the way, 996 refers to a very common working practice in China where basically 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. It's a very, very commonly accepted form of working there, especially when we're talking about working for tech companies, right? And there's been a lot of talk, especially crazy talk in my opinion, about how, wow, look at the work ethic of Chinese workers over here. I cannot disagree more about this, and I feel like it's such a disingenuous thing that actually has very little to do with China versus America workers. It has everything to do with trying to keep pressure over employees during a period where, if you're smart and you're looking around, you have more options than you've ever had before. This is a key moment, okay? So let's talk about this and let's get into this. I'm going to activate my screen so you guys can see this. I'm going to go through a couple of articles, a couple of things that have been making a lot of headlines here as it relates to this, all right? All right, check this one out. Airline CEO tells staff to push through fatigue, right? As chaos engulfs the aviation industry this summer, one airline CEO has come up with a novel way of cutting down on flight cancellations, telling staff to take less time off. Right? So this is Wizz Air told employees at a meeting this week that too many of them were taking time off for fatigue and that sometimes it is required to go the extra mile, right? This is pilot fatigue we're talking about. We're talking about pilots right now, right? Being lectured and patronized, overworked pilots, underpaid pilots, being lectured and patronized, right? Elon Musk made headlines, right? Not too long ago, right? Lauding Chinese workers for burning the 3 a.m. oil, slamming Americans for avoiding work, right? His endorsement of long working hours did not go down well, right? What's going on here? What's happening? Why is this going on? And then you'll see other ones too. In Fortune, this summer will decide remote work's fate. A White House predicted COVID wave this fall could render it moot. This is the whole other side. Even companies like Google, which by the way has been famously anti-remote work, there seems to be some powerful signs that they're changing as well, that they're trying to differentiate themselves in the midst of this. Other companies are not. They're taking a very, very hardline look. What does all of this mean to you? Here's what I believe it means to you, all right? And if you disagree, I want to hear from you, all right? Drop me a comment. Let me know, all right? And by the way, if you don't know who I am, take a second to follow me over on LinkedIn. I'm sharing daily career tips and advice every single day from professionals who are getting out of this job search hell and learning how to generate their own. If you're interested in learning how they're doing it, you want to start learning how to do it yourself, take a second, follow me. I would really appreciate this. Okay. So why is this going on? If I lose pressure, right? If I lose the ability to keep you scared, and I can no longer use the same culprits. I can no longer say, hey, you know what? I can just replace you any second. I don't even know what the heck's going on. And I know that the more time you're spending away from the office, the more time you're spending away from our bubble, the more time you can spend pursuing new opportunities, making an impact in the industry that has nothing to do with our company. There's a million things that you could be working on developing that are not always time heavy, that can actually move you forward, right? That's what I don't want. That's what I really don't want, especially if I'm an unscrupulous worker, employer. What I do not want is someone having options, thinking for themselves, making moves on their own. So I have to start applying other types of pressure. right? I have to start saying to myself, okay, what are other ways that I can keep people scared? Right? One way is just to seed a general kind of anxiety that says, look, this whole, while you're worried about trying to make a fair and equitable paycheck for yourself, there are people in China right now, there are people all around the world, this is an old argument, right? Who would do what you do for a tenth as much. And by the way, we can go over to them anytime we need to, right? Fear tactics, right? Things that are meant to keep your nose to the grindstone. And I really, really want to encourage each and every one of you, don't fall for that. If you're working as part of a company right now that is pulling crap like that, or is pulling, borderline authoritarian tactics to force you back to the office, you do not have to take this. And this is probably a great time for you to transition away. Employers have never been more open to people with weird work gaps, red flags, and the like, because we've all had to go through a collective red flag experience, right? So this is probably a good time to do that. Now, if you're interviewing and you're going out there and you're pursuing new opportunities and you're interviewing for someone or talking with a hiring manager who is displaying warning signals, in terms of these people are not going to respect it. Like they're holding up overwork as a mark of pride, as a differentiator in this company. They are talking about ways in which projects successes were had, where as you're thinking about it, there's no normal way a 40-hour work week could do it, right? They're stepping all over you. They're not interested in your ideas, right? What are some other things that you should be looking out for, okay? Because if you come across a culture like this, if you come across a hiring manager, a boss like this, you're not going to be able to change it. Your only real choice is, do I want to make myself a sacrificial lamb in this situation or not? Right? So let's get into a couple of ways that you can actually protect yourself. All right. A few big ones here. All right. Number one. Okay. Stop using secondhand brand attachment as the main driver of your career success. You being susceptible to these types of unscrupulous employers goes through the roof if you're someone whose idea of developing your brand, your career, never really went beyond, I just want a job at Meta, or I just want a job at Amazon, or I just want a job at Tesla. I see brands on LinkedIn that are like this. Not only does that not really work, because, in the eyes of most employers, yes, that might get you in the door, but there's a problem in that as well. Because if I'm running an automotive company and you're an expert in the Tesla way, I might want to talk to you because of the appeal there. But once we actually get involved, I'm not going to really have much patience with you not doing things because you've only been taught to do it one way, right? There's a dislocation that happens there, because what you're basically saying is you have no process of your own, if that makes sense, right? You have the borrowed process of a bigger company. That does not work. That's really going to hurt you here, because if you come across a company that has great name cachet but is pulling off all of these warning signals, every single thing in your mind and heart is going to be warring with yourself to say, hey, what do I know? What do I know? Maybe I should just give it a shot. I've seen people completely screw up their career paths by not listening to their instincts and things like this, right? So ways in which you can stop this, especially if you're looking at your brand right now on LinkedIn, on your resume, and you're like, oh my God, I'm totally doing this. Switch your way of thinking to your own process, right? It's not the Tesla process or the Apple process. What's your process as someone who understands technology, understands high-level operations, but also has that financial background? What's your way of moving a company forward, right? That only you can do, that is going to deliver outsized gains. What's the right way, i.e. your way of doing it versus the wrong way, right? So switching your brand to coalesce around a self-owned process is very, very powerful and a great inoculator against running up against employers and companies like this, or not being able to do business with them in the event that they can be having done business with. The other one is you can switch your brand and the way that you talk about your career away from, hey, I'm just a professional, I worked at this company, I worked at this one, into more of like a hero's journey, right? A hero's journey means that over the course of your career, you have your own priorities. You have your own things that you know are right, that are wrong, that's a right way of moving forward, that's a wrong way. And every company, that you've been a part of, every job title you've had, have all been methods of trying to make a level of impact happen, right? The fruition of your process is what is truly important. So if you can talk about it in that way, it allows you to depersonalize a lot of the negative effects you've had as well, right? If things went downhill, at a prior company, that's not really a dig on you. As long as you look at it through the lens of your process. What were you able to achieve, you and your people, right? Where did things split? And how now can I use what I understood there, and how can you as an employer understand what we experienced so you can make the right decision here, right? And you can avoid the problems that I saw over at company Y, right? So changing it to a hero's discovery, talking about it in that way, in terms of what you discovered and what you stand for, is very important. Bridging the gap between A and B to deliver on C, which is something bridging the gap between high-level business strategy and technical operations to actually deliver on our game-changing ideas and get it. Bridging the gap between HR the way that we want to do it and HR the way it's always been done, to actually use HR as an ally for growth, right? So bridging a problem, a huge gap, right? Every industry has many of these things, right? Call something out that relates to what you do. Call something out that relates to the change that you make happen, right? X done right, HR done right, technical innovation done right, digital transformation done right. That's an easy way to think about this, right? Because it forces you to take a stand, right? It forces you to say, okay, this is right, this is wrong. And when I see people trading in false secondhand brand strategies, they haven't done this work, right? Here's another tip. Initiate dialogue from a place of power, right? Avoid help me find a job conversations at all costs. I don't care who wants to talk to you. If they're there thinking that they're going to do you a favor, you have no leverage over the situation. If you have no leverage, it's unlikely that you're going to find out what's really going on. And if you don't really know what's going on at a company and what's being experienced by someone, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to galvanize them towards an offer that is going to make sense for you, okay? So what does that mean? Start spending time networking, building relationships as an equal, and spreading value, having these conversations without necessarily a job offer attached. This is something that has got to be built. It's a skill that those who are in the top 1% of every industry have found their way to develop, and it's time that we started doing that too. If the only way you're pursuing opportunities are through job boards, you are missing out on the most of it, okay? 2 other quick tips, okay? Test how open the person you're speaking to is in terms of going off script, right? Challenge them. Hey, what do you think about this? I don't know if I agree with that. What do you think about this? It doesn't matter what it is, okay? But control freaks, people who are going to treat you like a glorified wage slave, okay? They can talk a good game about being open and being creative and all that, but when you actually demand some creativity for them, some openness from them, some compromise, they will always shut this down. You'll see that in the interview room long before you will in starting the job. Finally, what is your best alternative to a yes? Do not go into any hiring situation, if you can, without having other irons in the fire. The business of generating offers, the business of moving your career forward should be something that you have control over, that no company or interviewer or hiring manager should ever take control of, right? And if you don't have that right now, that needs to be worked on far more than finding the best brand or finding the best job. There is no one perfect outcome anymore, guys. That's a myth. All right. The best outcome is you with the most amount of control and you with the most number of relevant opportunities in front of you. If that is not happening, you are not moving in the right direction. If this makes sense, guys, hop on over, take an action today. Do something differently than the 99% of good students out there who are going to be stuck exactly where they are 1 year from now. Shoot me a follow. Let me know what's going on. Let me know if this resonates with you. Talk to you soon.